All right, let's get down to business. Day 3 of this marathon. Day 3, everybody. Like, honestly, I feel like Mr. Krabs, Resident Evil Extinction 2007. Let's go. This is where the mood changes from campy game movie, and they take themselves way too seriously to be taken seriously, ironically. Not sure how that happens in a span of 3 years. But they decide to drag Claire down the road of degradation through all this. The first one didn't have nobody we knew except the Lickers. Don't think I didn't catch y'all making Spence's name Spence. Y'all did that on purpose. I don't care if there's a billion names in a hat and you took it out and it was Spence. You didn't just come to that conclusion with that scenario, okay? You can't pull the wool over my eyes. In addition to that, the Red Queen makes an appearance like once ever in the games, and it was like a retelling, I think. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was like Dark Side Chronicles or something dumb. Umbrella Chronicles, maybe. But the Red Queen only makes an appearance like once. And she wasn't a little girl. She was literally just AI on a screen. The second one had Jill Valentine and nobody else. Jax Briggs from Mortal Kombat. And this one has Claire and Kmart. Kmart, aka Sherry. She's supposed to be a Sherry fill-in, just to let you guys know, if you didn't already know that. But honestly, Alice should have died. As of right now, I hate her. Not the actress, not how she acted. The character sucks. And she's a collaboration at this point of Leon, Claire, Jill, and Chris. That doesn't make her a Mary Sue, as we've already debunked the term many times on this channel. She's just poorly written. I refuse to dehumanize the character and disrespect the mere existence of female protagonists by using that irresponsible, immature word to describe any woman or girl character who's supposed to be the chosen one protagonist. So anyway, the synopsis. Alice is going through her memories because she didn't die, but she is being cloned, and we open up with her. Oh, didn't she do this already? Like, we start going through this thing where we're going backtracking, technically. And all the people who are alive that are scientists are underneath this place out in Nevada. It looks like some Cletus shack, and there's a bunch of zombies everywhere. So basically what we learn in the very beginning of this movie is, like I said in the previous video, it's airborne, and it takes, for some reason, it's making water dry and trees not grow, which is really strange. Where are they getting their water? I didn't see it rain. Did you? Did y'all see it rain in here? It rains later, but you know what? I think maybe, I don't know if it was Afterlife. I don't know, but honestly, I hate this one the most, first of all, because Day dies. I knew he was going to die. And also the Magi dies. But the biggest thing about it is they give this man named Isaacs Albert Wesker mixed with William Birkin's story. Since you didn't have the balls to put William Birkin in your first movie, or even your second, and you had the pseudoscientist with the last name Ashford, you're going to use Wesker, who is literally, he looking like Slim Shady's father. He looking real Slim Shady in this one. That's why they changed his hair color to auburn or brown or whatever, because he looks crazy. This man looks insane with blonde hair. You gave Albert Wesker's storyline to Isaacs. Isaacs even tries to talk like Wesker. The way he talks, he's George Mormont from Game of Thrones. And if you've heard him speak in any other place, he sounds like that, but you can tell that he's at least heard of the games. And he was told, if not, he was doing this on his own to sound similar to Wesker. He just has that arrogance about him, and he does things that you would expect Wesker to do, and Wesker just sits there and stands there. Literally, like I said, stop putting our favorite characters in these movies if you're not going to follow their storyline. If Claire's in here, and it's strange because Claire's hair is like orange red. People say red when it's orange. Like, I really do believe some people are colorblind, and we just don't know it because no one checks them. They never get their eyes checked. But like I was saying, literally, Claire Redfield, you're not gonna, makes no sense to have Claire Redfield up in here. She's just surrounded by randos. How hard was it to look at all these games that you have, a plethora of information and you decide to come up with this garbage. This garbage. It's disgusting. Whatever. Like I said, there's a fake shack out there Umbrella's using to test out her clones. We learned right away the Earth is being ran by zombies. Blew up Raccoon City for nothing. Yep. T-virus affects water and land somehow. So Alice acts as hero, traveling to crazy hillbilly town, which is insane. You think people who, like, honestly, The Walking Dead really shows humanity at its worst. Because, like, right now as it stands, people would be like, oh, free Britney, free Britney. Honestly, here's an example. Free Britney. I think it's real interesting that all these celebrities with billions and billions of dollars at their disposal is talking about free Britney. That's all I can say while I drink my martini. Do something about it then. Do something. You're rich. Do something about it. Oh, it's horrible. This system's so jacked up. You're rich. Do something about it. You're not going to do nothing about it? I really don't want it. I'd rather you say I would eat poor people in a heartbeat than you go on here and you act like you care about somebody. It's super annoying. If I had the money, I would do my best to help. But because I can barely afford, like, my life, I can't help Britney Spears. I can't help Britney Spears, but guess what? Rich people can. Super annoying. But as I was saying, like, these hillbillies are pretending to, like, I really don't understand why this one woman and a bunch of guys, of course, when there's a group of guys, they have one woman because she does things that they can't do, like appeal to pathos with the baby. But she thinks that somebody's there, and it just goes to show that she can't trust people, and that's just literally all this is for. But it just doesn't make sense. Because why on earth are they doing that to capture people so they can feed dogs? If they stopped feeding those dogs, they would turn into nothing eventually. The zombies don't just live forever. If they don't have any food, they're going to eat each other. And if they don't eat each other, they're going to just not exist anymore. That's why they're like, here we go. I got to teach y'all. The reason why zombies eat is so that it can feed the virus. If the virus isn't being fed, it's going to die. So I don't know why these redneck hillbillies are trying to capture people to give to these dogs that they don't even have on, like, thick line leashes so that they can't attack them but attack what's in front of them. You'd think that they would actually be doing something that mattered and not just playing hillbilly games with random people they find, if they find anybody. So after we see the zombie dogs again, y'all use the zombie dogs way too much for my liking. I'm not as upset as I sound, but I'm upset. Like I said in the previous video, where are the hunters? Was that too hard to do? You did lickers. And even that, y'all should have did something different with the lickers. They're too animated. You should have did something else. Like, you should have put a suit on somebody, call somebody from Face Off. You could have did that with the hunters, but y'all didn't. But let's talk about the other protagonists. We've got, like I said, Kmart, who is Sherry Birkin. She's Sherry. We've got Claire, not Claire, because her hair's red or it's brown. It's not orange. I like when people talk about, oh, redhead, like I said, colorblind. I don't know why. I understand a long time ago we didn't have the color orange, so it was just red. But guess what? Just like Christopher Columbus, we don't have to call Native Americans Indians anymore, because who are Indians then? From India. They're not all Hindu because they don't all believe in Hinduism. So when you are born in India and you leave and you come to America, are you not American Indian? I rest my case. So these protagonists, Day and you got Magi and some dude that's driving the bus with the kids. There's a bunch of kids that they found. And then there's a black girl that kind of seems like she likes Day, but guess what? She dies she's one of the first people of the main cast to die, so of course. And Day gets bit, and later on, Day bites the Magi guy, which I thought was a really good thing. I liked the fact that Day bit the Magi guy, and the Magi guy sacrificed his life for Alice to get into the facility by the end of the movie. But honestly, I'm super upset that Claire's in this, because literally there's really nothing else that connects her. Where'd Jill go? Because eventually we see what Jill looked like in Resident Evil 5 for no reason, because guess what? Wesker doesn't really talk about it. Chris doesn't even really talk to... I can't. And then you act like... See, you love to look at the games when the games literally have nothing to do with what you've created. It makes no sense. Either use your own brain or base it off the game. You can't do both. Doing both is a boo-boo. It's a bad thing. This movie echoes sentiments from a Survivor game, just not Resident Evil. This could have been called something else, like I said a long time ago, and wouldn't have been so disliked. Even though, me personally, I'm not into those things where, oh, let's just take a little bit and make our own thing. When people love to say, oh, just base it on its own. I would love to if they didn't use the words Resident Evil that already exists. It wasn't Evil Residence. It wasn't even Biohazard. It was Resident Evil. Therefore, yes, I will base it and go on the games and say, wait a second, literally, this makes no sense. Oh, it's supposed to be its own thing. I don't want it to be its own thing. If you wanted it to be your own thing, you should call it something else. You should actually make your own story. But they didn't want to do that. See, I'm not going to allow them to have their cake and eat it too. Y'all can simp for them and say, oh, well, just watch it with your eyes closed and with your ears closed. And it's a good movie. I'm going to actually use my ears and use my eyes. And I'm going to use my mouth. And I'm going to say this is terrible. The setups in this movie are well done. Stakes are higher as the world is dying. Tons going on. You've got Alice's side story. You've got the survivor's side story. Day-Day is still yet another side story. He's only able to act when he's alone for some reason. And I wonder why that is. And then you've got Isaacs, which, like I said, Isaacs is just Albert Wesker mixed with William Birkin. That's it. So supposedly he tries to humanize these zombies, which makes no sense considering the end of the story. The final chapter goes way into the detail of why this makes no sense, what he's doing, which makes me know for a fact that you guys had no idea where these movies were going to go. You were just literally going into your butt crack and seeing what came out. Literally. Goes to show they had absolutely no direction despite at this point having 5+ games to get a story from. And characters. So problem 1 starts with Isaacs. Like I said, he's a collaboration of William Birkin and Albert Wesker, who somehow is outshined and stolen from, despite being literally in our faces. Slim Shady's uncle, that's Wesker. The way he looks, he has no presence whatsoever. There's no music change. When we go look at him, he's just like a regular person. He's like an NPC. He might as well not even be Albert Wesker. Why'd you do that? He's just quiet, not menacing at all. Wesker didn't run the show at launch, so I didn't expect him to be some big baddie, but if you're going to put him in there, you know that we're expecting him to be something. He started out as a student. You knew the lore about Resident Evil before you started making this and you started playing with the big boys. He was a scientist, he was a field agent, and then he got some sort of power, which it doesn't have to be Wesker Chronicles, okay? I don't need to see his whole freaking life. It just needs to make sense, which it doesn't right now. Raccoon City is destroyed, and we didn't see not one blonde hair one of Albert Wesker before now. You're messing with canon, and you expect us to not be mad? We're supposed to say it's its own thing, but you've got Claire Redfield up in here? And Jill? But no Carlos? Questions. Why was Carlos omitted? Why was Claire put in here for no, like literally? Why was Kmart even here? She's someone's baby niece that just got the job. Stop using things that are important to us as your pet projects. Resident Evil's not your freaking pet project. The only thing cool about this movie was the bird scene. But again, if we've already been following Alice, her introduction to the Survivor storyline had less weight. So I was kind of like upset because we started off with Alice. We should have seen her for maybe the middle half of the movie. Personally, that's just how I feel about it. It keeps happening that way. Like I said before, Alice's story is separate from everybody else's story, which means they have to collide at some point. And if we already know that Alice is fine, we're not getting the same, oh my goodness, it's Alice thing that everybody else gets every time she comes back. it just gets annoying because we already know she's all right. I understand why this is, because Mila had to be in most of the movie for billing purposes, even though it would have been easier for her to just organically go into the next story. This is the movie when Alice's love interest shows an interest for her and dies. It's hilarious. The Magi dude is a good match. He's just insignificant to the RE plot. Isaacs and Kmart, like everybody, every single person that I even talked about other than Claire and Wesker, insignificant. Rather than just making this makeshift ragtime team of a few Resident Evil classic characters and losers I don't care about because they're just too afraid to actually look at the game and give us what we want. It's insane. Like this Resident Evil thing on Netflix. How hard is it to just give us what we want? Give us what we want, the games. How hard is it? You're already making movies. Resident Evil 7 and 8 look like movies. You literally could have made those things into movies or a series, and I would have been fine with it. I didn't need Resident Evil 7 or Resident Evil 8. The coolest thing about Resident Evil 7 is Jack Baker. That was it. Not the story, not the choice, not anything. Not Ethan Winters. Nothing except Jack Baker. That's it. And only when he's a person, not when he's a ball of flesh and mold. This movie is doing worse than the last one that I talked about. Overall, the story is annoying because I wanted to like it, but including Claire, excluding Jill, who you already stole to make your Jive Time sequel prior to Extinction, makes no sense. Like, what are we supposed to do? Did you only do that because Claire was in the next game after 3? This movie does a good job of fleshing out different perspectives when it comes to despair. They mourn the dead. That's something you don't usually see in Resident Evil games because it's so quick paced. They discuss their situation and deal with infected people among their own, all while scientists work underground for a cure, I guess, because we learn later in the other movies why Isaacs did all this, and it's stupid. I really don't have much else to say about this movie except the saturation, the way it looks disgusting. It looks dusty everywhere. Yes, it's in Nevada for a little bit of the time, but it just, the way everything looks, it's disgusting. The blood looks black. It doesn't look real. The only thing I can say is the practical effects were really nice. I really like it. Out of every single zombie movie ever made that I've seen, I think this Resident Evil franchise does a very good job. Okay? That's what I will give it, and all I will give it. The end of this movie where they're in the bottom and literally Isaacs turns into kind of like a Wesker mixed with a William Birkin, where he injects himself and he becomes this creature. It's gross because he's more human. And yes, I get that because they always make it seem like people who are the villain would become something huge while heroes just turn into like regular grunt zombies. But I feel like it was kind of cheesy at the end. When they went into that place, I knew like you set things up with everything. It's hard to not see the end, but you can basically guess where it's going when they go into the fake laser room. And when Alice sees all her clones and then she's like, well, I'm going to be bringing friends next time to someone she doesn't know. She does not know Albert Wesker at this point. No, she doesn't. So it makes no sense for her to be like, well, I'm going to bring friends. She doesn't know where they're at. I don't know. That's a cool tag thing that if it were a male protagonist, everyone would have been like, yeah, that's so cool. Oh, awesome. But because she's a female protagonist, they're like, oh, it comes off cheesy. Regardless if it was a guy or girl, it's cheesy because she doesn't know these people. She doesn't know where they're at. I would have been fine with Alice just taking the clones and saying, let's go, rather than doing that thing and calling them. How did she know what to do, how to call them? But whatever, that's just a nitpick. I don't care. Let's talk about these 10 staples. Horror. Like I said, it's hard to think it's horror when the blood looks black and everything looks sandy. So I really, there's a lot of carnage. Like, honestly, there is carnage. But I don't think it's horrible at all. I don't think it's horror. I wouldn't consider it horror. So no. Puzzles. Doesn't matter. There's no puzzles, really. Backtracking. Yeah, technically, like I said in the previous video, she backtracks technically. Number 4, tyrant. There was no tyrant. The only thing I would say, Alice is a tyrant. She's kind of like a tyrant. Tyrants don't have to be naked and swollen, just to let you guys know. Tyrants are BOWs. BOWs are not always tyrants. So there we go. Different perspectives? Yes, of course, because there's so many characters that I really don't care about. 6, zombies, viruses, and BOWs. Well, the virus is stronger than any virus in Resident Evil because it just killed the whole world. But we later understand why that happened. But as of now, it seems like it's just the virus getting loose. Number 7, corporations. Same thing. That's basically the premise of this whole thing. The reason why everyone wants the virus and whatnot. But it's less the focal point in this movie. Number 8, gameplay / action. So the action, it's an action movie. It's there. 9, continuity. Fail. 10, overall story. Hated it. That was quick. It's a 5 out of 10. It's a 5 out of 10. And the only reason why it's getting anything is because that Magi dude smokes a blunt when he blows up. And Claire Redfield's here. And she's not even really Claire Redfield, honestly. But literally, there's nothing else to say about this movie other than it's hard to watch because it's just dusty everywhere for the most part. And again, having Claire, just like Jill was side fiddle, Claire is now side fiddle. I'm good, but I'm not that good. And then I hated the fact that Claire kept using all these shots to save this dude when he was getting bit. She knew that he was already dead, and she kept using all those bullets. That whole sequence where they opened that box and all these zombies came out made no sense because it's like, how'd they know? I mean, I know they know from the satellite, but how are they going to, I don't know. All of it is just convoluted. It's all convoluted. It wasn't like this in the games. It was handled very differently and a lot better in the games. It's a 5 out of 10. And it's just going to get worse. Like I said, it just gets worse. It just gets worse. So please like and subscribe if you like this video. And check out next time for day 4 because we're still going to keep going until we're done with this. All the way up to Infinite Darkness on Netflix. Don't forget to watch that and hate it because I'm sure it's going to be nothing but a Leon Chronicle where Leon's going to kiss another girl and all the guys are going to swoon because they want to be like Leon. I'm done.